Get in the game with the college-branded Venmo debit card. Wreck your team with every tap and earn up to 5% cash back with Venmo Stash, a new rewards program from Venmo. No monthly fee, no minimum balance, just school pride and spending power. Get in the game and sign up for the Venmo debit card at venmo.com/collegecard. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. Select schools available. Venmo Stash terms and exclusions apply at venmo.me/stash terms. Max $100 cash back per month.
For the News and Observer, I'm Danielle, Battaglia, your host for this week's episode of Under the Dome. It is Monday, May 9th, and I am here joined with Bajpai, who is going to talk to me about the big leak this week. How are you doing? I don't think we've been on an episode before together.
Yeah, that's right. We haven't been on an episode before together, but I'm doing good. How are you? How are you coping with all of the crazy amount of news this week?
It's been a week. We both have had leaks. Your leak is probably more pertinent than my leaks, and
it's monumental. Yes.
Yeah. So that's what we're here to talk to you guys about. So I believe this leak came out on May 2nd, which would have been was it Monday night or Tuesday?
Monday night. Yeah, Monday night. Yeah.
Monday night. So talk to me about this. It's the Supreme Court leak. Politico broke the story that a document had come out that looks like Justice Alito is getting ready. Well, Justice Alito and the Supreme Court are getting ready to overturn Roe v. Wade, which is a big deal in the United States. So talk to me about what's going on and what you've been doing.
Yeah, it's I don't think we can understate it. It's kind of honestly kind of earth-shattering news that came out Monday night. Politico obtained a copy of a draft majority opinion authored by Justice Samuel Alito. He's a George W. Bush appointee. He was appointed to the court in 2006. And this is a opinion that has been drafted in the case is called Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization. This is a case that was the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in this case back in December. And this is concerning a law in Mississippi that bans abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy. And this is a very contentious law. And this, given the current makeup of the court, there's a 6-3 conservative majority in effect. And so this was something that people had been, this was considered a likelihood that this is possible, that the court would come out with an opinion striking down Roe versus Wade. But, this has been, Roe has been settled, established precedent for almost 50 years, which makes this, like I was saying, it's hard to, you can't really understate the significance of this, because this has been something that, people who feel strongly strongly oppose abortion. This is something that's been a sort of long goal of the anti-abortion movement, and sort of conversely, it's been something that, especially in recent years, people who feel strongly about a woman's right to choose, it's been something that people have been worrying about. So, this was definitely enormous news that came out on Monday night.
And we sent you to a protest this week, correct?
Yes. So we had really, in North Carolina, people started reacting to this, processing it, and preparing for what might come on Monday night, right after this news broke. I did, word basically started spreading on social media that there was going to be a protest in downtown Raleigh on Tuesday morning. And, different groups that are pro-choice started spreading information about this large protest that they were planning, basically a rally and then a march throughout downtown. And I showed up at about 6 o'clock for this protest, and it was sizable. It was hard to get a good sort of estimate of how many people were there, but definitely hundreds of people, maybe several hundreds of people, and a lot of people who came out. They had a ton of signs. They were very passionate. It was you could tell that this is something that people feel very strongly about. And I talked to one of the organizers of the protest, one of the lead organizers of the protest, Dana Al Hassan. She's an activist with a local group, local chapter of the Party of for Socialism and Liberation. She told me, she was shocked by this news on Monday night. She started making plans for a protest that night itself, and clearly, word of this spread quickly, and many people came out. Protests lasted about an hour and a half, a little more than an hour and a half, and a lengthy march all throughout downtown. So, right from the get-go, this is obviously news that for people on both sides of this debate, this was not expected. Even though this was considered a possibility that the Supreme Court might rule in this way, to actually be presented with this as something that is no longer a possibility but is potentially imminent, that has been quite a shock here in North Carolina and across the country.
What was the overall mood and tone of that protest? I know we're like a year out from the George Floyd protest that we had last May. I mean, I guess we're a little less than a year out, but like, what was those are two totally different issues, but also very strong feelings and emotions carried with both of those topics. What was this protest like?
Yeah, it was definitely, definitely emotionally charged. A lot of women who came out to protest this possible ruling from the Supreme Court, but a lot of other people as well. You could tell there were lots of families that had come together, couples, groups of friends. I talked to one woman who has been living in North Carolina for the last 15 or 16 years. She said it was quite fascinating. She said she grew up in a sort of devout Roman Catholic family, Italian and Irish American family on Long Island, and grew up for most of her life. She was opposed to abortion pretty strongly, and then had unfortunately had complications with the pregnancy of her own, and that shifted her thinking on this. So she said she was out there with her daughter, and she said it was her first protest. At the age of 55, she'd come out for her first protest. So it was definitely a mood of, people expressing, reacting really quickly to what could, a changing landscape, and the possibility that abortion could be severely restricted across the country, even here in North Carolina. You could definitely tell that, it remains to be seen how much of a sort of motivating issue this is politically. But I think in terms of the ground reality of, what this would mean for women, for different people, it's a very big development.
And just for listeners who haven't, experienced the choice to have an abortion or not, this isn't just I don't want the baby, so I'm going to have an abortion issue, but this also impacts women who are having issues with health and things like that as well. Is that correct? It's like all abortions?
Yeah. So if you're talking about the possibility of of the ruling. If Roe is overturned, that's basically the umbrella federal protection that keeps abortion legal throughout the country. And if that's gone, then states are free to enact whatever laws they want.
Okay.
And obviously some states, it's going to vary state by state, but for many of the states, particularly here in the South, people are suddenly looking at a whole sort of spate of restrictions, of bans and different laws that could be in the pipeline.
And have we even gotten to the point where we can delve into what North Carolina will do, has on the books to do, like anything like that? I know it's very early into this process.
Yeah, I would say it's not really concrete at this point in terms of knowing for sure what could be in the pipeline or what could be possible here in North Carolina. It's sort of complicated because there are different kinds of laws on the books, different kinds of laws governing or regulating abortion in different ways. One of the big things to watch in the coming months, if this is, because we should stress that this is a draft ruling. Mm-hmm. It's not final word. It's not like the Supreme Court has decided this case. And that was something that Chief Justice John Roberts was emphasizing in his brief statement on this leaked ruling. He confirmed that the ruling is authentic, but he said it's not final. And, when justices confer on these cases, they, in the past, it's possible that changes can be made. Minds can be changed. I don't know how likely that is, but it is worth stressing that this is not final. But one of the big things, one of the main things to look out for in North Carolina is North Carolina had a state law banning abortions after 20 weeks. And that was struck down as unconstitutional by a federal court in 2019, but only because of this precedent. If this goes away, then that could be reinstated. So that's just one of many things to look out for.
Okay. And talk to me about midterm elections, because while we're recording this, we are 12 days out from the election, the primary election. This seems like we knew it was going to be a big topic within the midterms, but it has suddenly become the topic in the midterms. What are people telling you about how this will shape the midterm elections?
Yeah, so that's really interesting. And that's something that, unfortunately is kind of hard to gauge at this point, especially because, we'll see how much of a significant or motivating issue this is once the primary is over and once the candidates for the general election are known. And then that's when the sort of general election fight begins. So it's a little difficult to sort of predict or to say for sure how significant this is going to be. But, even before Monday night, like you were saying, abortion has been one of the sort of major issues, social issues that has animated American politics. Here in North Carolina, rest of the country too. With this possibility, something that looks like it's likely at this point, when the ruling comes out in the next month or so, with this now sort of fundamentally changing the landscape, with this possibility that you could have multiple states. The numbers vary, but anywhere from basically 15 to 23, 24 states across the country that could suddenly, once Roe's overturned, severely restrict or curtail abortion. With that possibility, that really changes things. One of the really sort of fascinating things this week was this ruling came out Monday night. A lot of the reaction started sort of surfacing and coming out, and people started processing this Tuesday. And also on Tuesday, we had the Meredith poll come out here in North Carolina. And one of the questions that the pollsters asked North Carolina registered voters, it was about 1,200 registered voters, was what should happen if Roe versus Wade is overturned. And of course, this leaked on Monday night, the day before the poll came out. And you know what what the polling shows is, really a sort of divided landscape here in North Carolina. You see that there's a slim majority of registered voters who say that they want to either maintain the spirit of Roe, basically keep those federal protections, keep that protection so that abortions are allowed up until about 22 weeks, or expand. So either keep the status quo or expand. About 53% of voters say that in this poll. And about 39%, close to 40%, say they want to enact some manner of restrictions. And that varies from making it illegal after 15 weeks, only allowing it in cases of pregnancy caused by rape or incest, or just a flat out ban in all cases. So, I really have basically two takeaways from that. There's the main takeaway obviously is that if it's sort of split right down the middle, then this is a difficult issue to it seems that this is a difficult issue to sort of confidently campaign on and even legislate on, because people are so sort of bitterly divided on this. But the other really interesting sort of takeaway from this polling is that even among these two camps, if you want to sort of broadly define them as pro-abortion rights and anti-abortion, there are real differences. It's about 26% of voters who want to expand access to abortion so there's no restrictions. It's about 27% who want to maintain, like I was saying before, maintain the spirit of Roe and make abortion available up until the 22nd week. And then same thing on the other side, 10% want to make it illegal after 15 weeks, 20% want to make it legal only in cases of rape or incest, cause pregnancies, and then 10% say a flat out ban in all cases. So, when you have these sort of distinct groups, even within the two broad sides of the debate, I think that shows you that there's no real sort of consensus on this. People feel very differently about what should happen.
I am hoping you have notes in front of you with all those numbers, because otherwise your brain is like incredible. That you just
I'm looking right at the poll results. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, Avi, that's just amazing. So what have we not told our listeners? Anything that we're missing on this topic?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the main thing that people should keep in mind is that there is a lot that remains to be seen. Basically, like you were saying, we're really early days in this development. This just happened on Monday. The primary is still 12 days away, and after that, we're a couple of months away from the general election. There's a lot of things to look out for. Politically, one of the key questions is, nationally, a lot of pollsters, pundits are predicting a really good year for Republicans. If that is the case in North Carolina, if that translates to the down ballot races, the legislative races, then one of the questions is, if Republicans have a legislative supermajority, then that changes the ballgame too, because then laws that they've tried to pass before that were vetoed by Governor Cooper, that's no longer, they can bypass that. But yeah, I would urge listeners to go to newsobserver.com, look at all of our coverage. Since this broke on Monday night, we've had a ton of stories analyzing the sort of political landscape, but also some really useful information about abortion providers here in the state and how many abortions happen every year. How frequent is this? So all of that, really great coverage from a big team of people. Several people contributed to that. That's all available on newsobserver.com.
I'll also plug that both us and our sister paper, Charlotte Observer, have a voter guide that has these questions, which are also now separated into a guide on which candidate feels which way about abortion. We had asked that prior to this coming out on our voter guide, which we have the candidates broken down with different questions just on different topics that could come up in the 2020 or 2022 election. Wow, I'm back.
Yeah.
20. And so if anything that you need on the 2022 primary coming up on May 17th, we have for you on both the newsandobserver.com and charlotteobserver.com. So you can check out our websites on that. And we need to leave people with an upper topic. So I know we're starting back headliner of the week. I don't know if you've had time to think about it. So have you had time to think about it?
I have not, actually, in the middle of all of this.
I was going to say, I'll go first, but I'm trying to clear my brain too of everything. I feel like everything I know this week is also a downer. You know what?
There are definitely things we can bring up, but it's I have to think about that.
None of them are great. You know what? Let's go. For me, I'm going to say very interesting are the leakers in both the Supreme Court case and with the Madison Cawthorn case. I don't think we've seen things like this before. Where definitely not with court, I've spent 10 years covering courts. I've never seen a Supreme Court case get leaked like this. And then with politics, talking to so many political pundits, they've all said, like, we've never seen just a leak where of Republicans being hit so hard over and over with things just bashing them. So I'm going to go with the leakers. I'm not really celebrating them. I'm not sure that's the right move to make here, but just the intricacies and the thought processes of who are the people that put these out there and what is going through their heads right now and what was going through their heads to put this out in the first place. I'm just fascinated with that. So that's going to be my headliner of the week.
If you don't mind, I'm just going to add myself onto that answer because I agree with that. I would point out also just sort of the newness and how unprecedented it is, especially with the Supreme Court leak, because it's not like we haven't had stories before that maybe indicate which way a ruling might be, what might be in the pipeline, what it might look like, but for a news outlet to obtain and publish a actual 100+ page ruling itself, and on an issue as contentious and monumental as this, that is staggering. And of course, one of the really interesting things that I saw this week was how people feel about it. It really differs on their politics and how they feel about this issue, because you have a whole host of Republicans and conservatives who are kind of furious with this leak and say it should be investigated and, gone to the bottom of it. And then the people at the protest that we covered this week who are hailing this person as a heroic leaker. So I'll finish up with that.
That makes sense. I will gladly let you piggyback, which means we have no poll because we're on the same side. But I appreciate you joining me for this episode and breaking this all down. I have not actually been able to follow this issue as closely as I wanted to with everything going on my beat. So I appreciate you being here. And for the News and Observer, I'm Danielle Battaglia with Avi Bajpai. Thanks for listening.
For more from our politics team, subscribe to the News and Observer at newsobserver.com/subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at Under the Dome and NC Insider, and sign up for our weekly political newsletter, also called Under the Dome, at newsobserver.com/newsletters. Thanks for listening.